All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Apologies for my lateness. For whatever reason, my Rockfin wouldn't load. I don't know. It was just some weird glitchy stuff, and my Rockfin was stuck, not working. So I don't know. Sometimes that happens. I'm here. I'm at the computer. I'm trying to do my show. Something gets in the way. But anyways, welcome everyone. Good to see you. And let's jump into it. I don't know. I know the title of this video was a little might be a little interesting or weird to you. I thought about, oh, I wish I was walking the dog, G. Demarest. Wish I was walking the dog. That would be so pleasant. She wishes I was walking the dog too. She's actually looking very depressed. My dog is very needy. My dog is a very needy dog. If she's not getting constant attention, she's like FML. Look at the way I'm treated. Right. I know some people like that too. All right. Maybe Rockfin was attacked by YouTube. Who knows? Anyways, we're here. What's up, AKA Beauty? Yeah, you did catch me on the YouTubes. Welcome. All right, so let's get into some things. I'm just kind of just going through some stuff today, some news items. But some of the interesting things that have come out lately, and we talked a little bit about, I think maybe we mentioned it in the last day or two about the study coming out saying that low levels of serotonin were not the cause of depression, and kind of debunking the idea that you could take these psychotropic drugs. And that's really just an example of what we see with so many other things, right? These, science, we can create these wonderful things with science, right? These technological marvels and wonders. We can change the chemistry of your brain and you'll be happy. Which, I mean, sounds all fine and well, but the problem is that it usually goes in many times goes in the opposite direction and ends up hurting people. These technological wonders and advances end up really screwing things up. And actually, how does this have to do with climate change? Everything, because that's literally what climate change is. Climate change is literally a reaction from the natural world to all the wonderful technological advances of human beings. That's literally what it is. It's the Earth's way of saying, nah, I'm not so happy about this. It was better when you guys were a little more calm. When you guys were, way down the technological knowledge ladder, you guys were a little more easier to deal with. Not so rampantly destructive. I don't know. And I just wanted to have a little bit of conversation about that. And we'll get to that particular story and another one that Richard McCluskey sent me. You know the thing, man. It turns out glyphosate, this pesticide that helps us grow all the giant foods that you saw in Woody Allen's Sleeper. I'm just gonna get this banana. these wonderful pesticides and fertilizers that we use to grow these giant foods and get rid of these nasty pests that get in the way of our growing these giant foods. Turns out all of those things are super poisonous and carcinogenic, and they're residing in everyone's body. Good luck. And they're affecting fertility rates, and et cetera, et cetera. The thing about affecting people's fertility rates, I know people want to create, want to make that a conspiracy theory, but it's just called stupidity. It's just called science being stupid. Science can really be stupid. Or maybe the humans that are using the science can be stupid. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mean. But I actually, if I belong to any church, it's the Church of Socrates, which is that you really don't know what you think you know. And I try and just stay there. And that includes me, right? Whenever you're wielding that brush of like, I don't know if you're all that knowledgeable. I try to paint myself with that brush too. But I mean, history has proven that particular viewpoint absolutely correct. Socrates is vindicated pretty much every single day. Oh yeah, you guys thought you had it all under control, didn't you? Whoops. So it's not a conspiracy theory that, we used all these chemicals on our food and in our lives, and that brought down fertility rates, and that's a depopulation agenda. Not really, no. It's a stupid agenda, is what it is. If you poison the earth to the point where the earth can't sustain life, that's definitely a depopulation agenda, but that's more, it's not an agenda. It's called stupid. Stupid is as stupid does, or whatever. I don't know. It's called whoops. It's called Evel Knievel going over the Snake River. I don't, it's just, it's people going, hey, why don't we try this? Oops. And don't get me wrong, I actually really love science and technology. I think it's amazing, some of the things that we can do. I just would like to I would like people to use it much more judiciously. Right, G. Demarest, lawsuit claims Skittles are unsafe to consumers, citing heightened levels of titanium dioxide, a possible carcinogen commonly referred to as food additive E171. Right, who knew, right? Who could have guessed? You know what? Who could have guessed? People that were like, maybe we shouldn't do that. I don't know, Malthusians, are supposed to be so bad and so crazy. But actually, they're kind of like, maybe we shouldn't do all this stuff. Excuse me. I got into a Twitter battle. You don't say. A Twitter battle with some people that were, we were arguing over the origin of COVID. But the funny thing is these people were high on their own supply that I was arguing with. It wasn't that, we could sift through the data and the actual things that we were talking about. But these people were like, you're not critically thinking. You don't know how to think. I was like, really? Okay. And you do? You're the wielder of, all that is good and true about thinking? Really? You really got it like that? Wow. I was like, man, you're gonna save the planet. Keep going. I mean, the absolute jaw-dropping hubris of some people to run around, to actually write articles on how it is people should think. And they were actually kind of, one particular person was negating their own arguments in a way, right? Because they were like rejecting evidence. I would link him things and put, and run away. No, no, I don't want to look at that. I was like, that's some critical thinking right there. You need some more audio? You're right. You're right. Thank you for letting me know. I do need some more audio. Man, I was saying I was on a roll there, and I think I was saying some pretty good stuff, and I'm sorry if you couldn't hear me. That's how it always goes. I mean, at least the audio wasn't totally off. That would have been bad. JF Sebastian, which I love the handle, by the way. The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Pretty much. Pretty much. And that's how it's going, right? If you actually zoom way out, you can say like, I see where this is going, and it's not a good place. I just think we need to think long and hard. I love technology and science, and I love all the cool things that it brings, but I feel like we need to do a lot more. When they're talking about putting vaccines through trials, long term, 5, 10, 15-year trial, yes, 20-year trials, And what happened with the last batch? 6 months, they're good. They're good to go. Which is science is just moving like that. It's just moving so fast. Is it? Is it? Is it really? Is that a good thing? We can just, technology is advancing at such a rate that we can just, move on to the next step so quickly, and we can just push things out into the world so quickly. Consequences be damned, right? Like what, technology is making leaps and bounds. We're growing so fast. We'll just push all these things out there, and we have no idea what the long-term consequences are of that. That is pretty much our MO through the entire, industrial revolution, or whatever you want to call it, or industrial civilization, or the last 200 years, or I don't know what you want to call it, or what time frame you want to put on it. Some people might say the beginning of agriculture was the beginning of the end. I don't know. I don't know. I just and to go back to the point of Socrates, it's not that humans, to me, it's not that humans are just horrible, bad, and the worst thing ever. And some people might argue with me, no, you're wrong on that. I just think humans could be in a place where they're much more humble, where they are much more accepting of their limitations, and understand like maybe we should really understand that we can do some dumb things. Let's really think this one through. I don't know. But let's look at some extreme weather things, if we can. Chigozi sent me this. Double-digit deaths expected in Kentucky floods that have already killed 3, governor says. And just to finish a thought, the last thing that I was saying, we should think things through, and maybe humans can evolve. Maybe humans can evolve. I don't know. I'm leaving that window open that possibly humans can evolve and do the thinking and the doing a little bit better. But a lot of people might disagree with me on that. So, yeah, massive flood. We were just talking about massive floods in St. Louis, massive floods here now in Kentucky, West Virginia, Southern Virginia. I don't know. Where are the ionosphere heaters for this one? The person that sent me the video saying that they were trying to break up the rain over Arizona so that we, would deplete our water supplies. But this, I mean, this is an extensive evil plot, right? Because they're heating the, or whatever it is, the satellite microwave heaters. I don't know about the ionosphere heaters. I don't know where I got that. You know, microwave heaters are breaking up rain in the Southwest, but I don't know. We're using the cloud seeding blaster rain rays in other places to make the floods. I don't know. It's getting a little random when you start saying stuff. You know, it's like, well, we don't have any rain over here. We have too much rain over here. And that's all part of the plot. I don't know. Maybe it is, but it's starting to sound a little bit. Okay, buddy. But this is, you know, but if you actually understand the science of climate change, you know, which says this is going, you know, these things are going to happen. Yeah, I know. Probably to some people, it could sound like the science of climate change can explain away everything. But if you understand that you have, and there are contradictions when you understand it, it does seem like, oh, that sounds weird. But you're going to have, you know, weather chaos, weather whiplash. You're going to have too much rain over here, not enough rain over here. Cold fronts over here and massive heating fronts over here. Anyway, so this is happening here. Meanwhile, so we have these heavy rains. Well, you know, if you have warmer air and warmer water, what does that do? The water evaporates much more quickly. Where does that evaporation go? Up into the sky, up into the clouds. The clouds become more heavy with water. Then you get these bigger rain events. You get atmospheric rivers. You get bigger hurricanes. You get bigger storm systems. You get more floods. What are we seeing over the last 3, 4, 5 years? More floods. Bigger rain events. Meanwhile, it's still hotter and warmer, so the evaporation is happening when you don't get water. The evaporation is still happening, right? Warm air, warm water, evaporating more quickly. So if you don't get the water, you get dry really quick. Does that line up? Bomb cyclone, says G. Demarest, yeah. Anyways, from XR Cambridge, U.S. Corn Belt about to be nuked with heat, top to bottom. This is from yesterday. So looking at a very big heat event. And I can tell you, there are people trying to tell you that heat doesn't do the things that it does, but I can tell you that, you know, it's hard to grow food. It's hard to grow plants where I live because it is so hot on some days, or the UV is so high, or the sun is so powerful, my plants just fry up. I have to constantly move my plants around so they don't die, or shade my plants so they don't die. Why? Because it's too hot. It's too much sun, and these are things that people didn't have to do just a few years ago, when we had normal, you know, normal sunshine, normal heat, normal seasons, and normal weather. By the way, I'm live on Callin, YouTube, and Rockfin, so you can catch me at all those places. And if you want to call into the show, you can use the Call-In app. Anyways, this is not good, right? The Corn Belt, it's about harvest time. It's getting close to harvest time. Should be about harvest time. In some places, it probably, you know, later, next month, or the next few months, harvest time. But if you get nuked by heat, what happens to the corn? And whatever else you're growing. 103, 107, 107, 103, 105, 104, all the way up through North Dakota, 101 in North Dakota. I can tell you I'm sure they have 100-degree weather at times in North Dakota, but I can tell you that that's extremely hot for North Dakota. As of a few years ago, that's probably not a thing that happened all that often. But now happens all the time. Now happens much more often. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's not good. We'll see what happens with that. Jordan Perry. I wonder if I wonder if he took this picture. I think that he did, and I kind of stole it for my thumbnail. And so, thank you, Jordan Perry, for my thumbnail. Just giving him credit. Warning signs on Lake Tahoe. Civilization is degrading. People are revolting. Everything is poison. Might as well say caution, Homo colossus present. So it's a sign at Lake Tahoe about harmful algal blooms because various things. One of those things is it's too warm. It's warmer than usual. Then you have chemical runoff. You have other things happening in the environment that produce these algal blooms, and that's happening not just here, but all over. Now happening quite often, quite regularly, all over the country. Again, we're seeing the fallout, the backlash of nature to all of our really cool activities. What should we do in the face of that? Should we maybe tone it down a notch? Should we tone it down a bit? Or is that anti-human? Or is that smart human? I didn't do my regular thing that I'm supposed to do today. I'm not being super organized today, so I apologize. Poppy Davis says, we're in that belt, the corn belt. Joe Manchin finally signed on to a watered-down Green New Deal. Right. Excuse me. Basil Peterson says thriving ecosystems are regenerative. Too bad we didn't look into that. Right. Well, what's the other thing that science is always latching onto these days? Well, it turns out the natural way is the best way. Turns out that naturally growing your food is the best way for the food and for you. Turns out that naturally having, natural childbirth is better for you and the baby. Turns out that breastfeeding your baby is the best thing for your, you know what I mean? Like on and on and on. I noticed that when my daughter was born, around the time she was born, I noticed that there was a lot of information and evidence. They were like, oh, it turns out that the natural way is the best way. Well, oh, really? So that's also, it seems like, well, if we're going to do something about what we're doing to the planet, wouldn't the natural way be the best way? Instead of like, well, we're going to build all these things, and we're going to, you can drive the electric cars, and you can, we're going to build seawalls, and we're going to reconstruct, humanity to be bigger and stronger and faster than ever. We can rebuild him. Bionic Man. I used to love that show. We can rebuild him. We're about to be in that era of, bionic people. And oh man, I forgot to actually I had some of those videos to show you that are very scary. about the mechanical dogs shooting guns. You know what's interesting? There were two videos that came out recently of robots, like war robots, like robots mounted with guns. Right? For a while, they were like, "Look at that nice little cute little robot! Oh, and he's dancing! Woohoo!" Oh, these guys are awesome. And then they have a couple videos came out with them holding guns, and everybody's like, scared. They already exist. They already exist. They're already firing weapons. They're already smart enough to do all the war things. So like, um, what was that Black Mirror episode called? Heavy Metal, I think it was. Is the name? Ooh, that is a creepy, creepy Black Mirror, and it's about a Well, anyways, I won't give it away. Go search it if you're interested. Scott Andrews, yes, there's not enough concern about the rapidly dwindling Ogallala aquifer, right? Which is what is underneath, like Nebraska, Kansas, all the Midwest. It's a huge aquifer underneath the Midwest. Even into what, Oklahoma and Texas? Not quite sure about the. It's a large aquifer. Yeah, quickly, Fantoma sent me this. Hidden menace, massive methane leaks, speed up climate change. Seen a few of these articles out lately, but along with the drilling for the oil and the black gold and whatnot, the cheap, reliable energy, along with all that, which is only good. It doesn't do anything bad to people, like poison people. The entire process, all along the way, super awesome for Exxon. Also leaks, all of these wells leak methane. I'm not going to go into. I'm not even going to go into the details because we know what this is. The entire process leaks methane, so that's not good. And the methane is going in the air. I'm wondering when I need to get off of YouTube. Maybe not. Maybe I can get through YouTube. Maybe we can get through it. All right. So we were talking about the study, and Jimmy Dore did a good video on this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just the beginning. And so there's a viral Tom Cruise clip going around, and this is from like years ago, 17 years ago, where he's talking about the dangers of psychotropic drugs, and everybody called him a madman and a lunatic at the time, but it seems like he was pretty much vindicated in this, in his views on psychotropic drugs and what they really are, which is basically poisons that oftentimes make people worse than they ever were. Here we go. No. Hold on. Why don't I have sound? Should have sound. Where's my sound? Boo. What's going on here? Says I have software, but I don't hear any sound from this. Come on, man. Jimmy Dore, why don't you have sound? Hold on one second, guys. Oh, so annoying. Um, let's see. Maybe I can refresh this and it'll work up for me.
So remember when Tom Cruise did this video? He did this interview with Matt Lauer, and he was against using psychotropic drugs, right? Here, listen to it.
Here we are today, where I talk out against drugs and psychiatric abuses of electric shocking people, okay, against their will, of drugging children with them not knowing the effects of these drugs. Do you know what Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug? Do you understand that?
The difference is this was not against her will, though. But this wasn't against Brooke's will.
Matt, I'm asking you a question.
I understand there's abuse of all of these things.
No, you see, here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do. All it does is mask the problem, Matt. And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does. That's all it does. You're not getting to the reason why. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer. That these drugs are very dangerous. They're mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs. And there are ways of doing it without that so that we don't end up in a brave new world.
Yes, there are abuses.
So what Tom Cruise is saying, there's a way to treat people who have depression and other problems without using these psychotropic drugs.
You know what one of those ways is? Here we go. I'm going to go back to natural is best, right? There are also studies, and this is already implemented in many schools and many institutions. The kids that were hyper or ADHD or blah, 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 you know what it was? It was the chemicals in the food. It was the bullshit they were feeding them, right? So do you see the cycle? You feed kids some bullshit. You feed kids crap food, and they go bonker, and filled with sugar. And I'm going to show this other study that Richard McCluskey sent me, filled with sugar and chemicals, and they go bonkers. And then you give them the psychotropic drugs to treat the bonkers, right? So what they found out was if you just give kids real food like vegetables and fruit, right? You give kids real food like vegetables and fruit and more, whole grains and stuff like that, right? Like good real food and not junky food. That their hyperness, they calm down. True story, right? Natural is best. Nature knows what's up. The farther we get away from nature, the weirder things get, and then you find yourself in this ever escalating cycle of like, well, we got to treat it with this, and we got to do with this, and maybe we give people this, and then maybe we got to do this, right? And goes on and on and on. Oh, we're destroying the planet because of climate change. What we got to do? Well, we got to do this. We got to get renewable energy. We got to build some electric cars, and everybody will drive electric cars. There's no smoke coming out of the tailpipe. Oh, see, it's clean energy, right? And then that'll be bad, and then we'll have to do something. We got to do something because the electric cars are destroying the environment. What are we going to do about that? It goes on and on. On and on. When you could just stop what you're doing, right? Look at the what is in your environment that is causing the imbalance, right? He is talking about, he says there's no chemical imbalance, but if you've got sugar and salt and high fructose corn syrup racing through your brains, yes, that's a chemical imbalance, and you can fix that by just taking the chemicals away. So there's that. Okay, let's keep going just a little bit.
Spoiler alert, he was right, but because there's a new study out. Well, go ahead, Kurt, what?
Okay, when this first came out, because I remember on Conan they made fun, they had like Mayor McCheese, and he was going, "You're being McGlib," and I remember hearing this played a lot. The part that stuck out to me that I don't remember from hearing hundreds of times was him mentioning Adderall and Ritalin, which are are speed. It's funny, when that clip went around, they kept Adderall and Ritalin's name right out of it.
Yes.
And they only focused on the part he said after that. And
yes.
I never noticed that until just now.
And he was right. He's right about this. Let's keep going.
And yes, maybe they've gone too far in certain areas. Maybe there are too many kids on Ritalin. Maybe electric shock.
Kids on Ritalin.
I'm just saying. But aren't there examples where
Maybe there's too many kids on Ritalin. He just said, hey, maybe there's too many kids on Ritalin. And Tom Cruise stops him. Too many kids on Ritalin. Like, do you hear what you're saying? Ritalin is a street drug.
Tom Cruise sounded crazy back then.
And everyone, yeah, I mean, remember that interview when Tom Cruise looked like the lunatic? Who would have thought Tom Cruise would be back on top as an A-list war propagandist?
Right. There's also that. He's also a Scientologist too, right? Anyways, I'm not going to play any more of the Jimmy Dore, but... Or we were just talking about, why are these kids so violent? Yesterday, talking about the lead that was in the, in the atmosphere that people were breathing in or taking. It was everywhere. Lead was everywhere. Lead was in the snowfall. Lead was in the oceans. Lead was everywhere. When we were burning fossil fuels with lead added to them. And it was poisoning, literally poisoning everybody. And then people were wondering why everybody's losing their mind. Right? You don't need MK Ultra to make people go crazy. I'm not saying that they didn't, but I'm saying you don't need MK Ultra to do that when everybody's inhaling, lead from the atmosphere, right? And it's scrambling their brains, and they lose their minds because they're breathing in this very toxic air. Yeah, you don't need a conspiracy to do, that's, I don't know, that was actually a conspiracy. That was a conspiracy to keep lead in gasoline because it was profitable, for one. And they wanted to hide the effects of the lead or hide the prevalence of the lead. And so that was a conspiracy to actually keep, people using and feeling the effects, the fallout from the lead. Anyways, this is the study, or, a report on the study. No evidence that depression is caused by low serotonin levels. And, yeah, maybe you're depressed because you're bombarded by, crap information. Maybe you're depressed because you're bombarded by, buy this thing and do this thing, and you're not a good person. You're not cool enough if you're not doing this thing. If you're not rich enough, you don't have all the clothes, you don't look right, you don't smell right, you don't, et cetera, right? And you're bombarded by this very toxic society of marketing and consumption. Maybe that's depressing you. I don't know. Popularity of the chemical imbalance theory of depression has coincided with a huge increase in the use of antidepressants. Prescriptions for antidepressants have risen dramatically since the 1990s, with 1 in 6 adults in England and 2% of teenagers now being prescribed an antidepressant in a given year. Many people take antidepressants because, well, and here's another thing. Why do you have to, life is not always comfortable, right? Life is you're experiencing life as you go through life. Like, things can be crappy. A teenager on antidepressants. I mean, come on. Teenagers have hormones all over the place, and they're dealing with, like, people go through lots of stuff when I went through lots of stuff when I was a teenager. I think I was clinically depressed, and then I turned to drugs and alcohol in order to cope with my depression. But what I didn't have is somebody to walk me through. I didn't have any. I I didn't have anybody to say like, you're okay, you're good, this is normal, this is natural. Like, I just didn't have any connection to anybody or any guidance, thoughtful, logical guidance as to like, well, this is, totally normal and natural, and like, you're gonna feel shitty and out like an outsider, and like nobody gets you, and like, right. But all my, drugs and alcohol were a way to have like a peer group and feel like accepted, or feel, whatever, without getting too deep into it. But maybe, maybe there are better ways to cope with depression than, popping out some pills to somebody. Maybe depression could be coped with therapy, maybe, or, access to, some kind of whatever, some kind of help, a community that can help you, whatever it might be. Andrew Lubbers says, depression is caused by things being wrong that are fixable but haven't been fixed, and you live sad knowing this, but when you fix it, you feel better. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, some of my depression when I was a kid was just, a lot of things I was worried about just went away when I got older. They just disappeared. All these things that were like hyper important when I was 13 didn't mean anything when I was 17, and so whatever. But yeah, maybe there are different ways to deal with this rather than prescribe people drugs. Richard McCluskey sent me this. Adolescent high fructose corn syrup consumption leads to dysfunction in adult affective behaviors and mesolimbic proteins in male Sprague dolly rats. Adolescence is a critical period of development. Tell me more. During which the brain undergoes rapid maturation. Problematically, adolescents are the top consumers of high fructose corn syrup. I can tell you what, here's another thing. I felt depressed when I was a kid, and I'll tell you this. I ate pretty badly. I ate really badly. I ate a lot of junk. There was just junk everywhere. There was cereal and chocolate milk and just crap. And I ate that crap all the time. Could that have been why I was depressed? It could have been part of it. I mean, there were other things going on in my life that I'm not even going to get into, but my diet certainly didn't help. While HFCS consumption has been linked to an increased likelihood of obesity and other physical health impairments, the link between HFCS and persistent behavioral changes is not yet fully established. The present study aimed to assess whether adolescent HFCS consumption could lead to alterations in adult behaviors and protein expression following cessation. Adolescent HFCS exposure contributed to deficits in learning and motivation, or an effort-related T-maze procedure, meaning you just stop trying. I don't feel like it. Yeah, I'm bored. I don't want to do it. As well as an increased immobility time in the forced swim paradigm during adulthood. Wow. Immobility, sedentary. A lot of children are sedentary these days. They eat a bunch of crap. They sit around playing video games. They're not moving. They're just sitting inside. Getting sick. Literally getting sick. Physically sick. Ill. because they're not like outside running around. They're not outside in the sun. They're eating shitty food. They're getting sick. When you need some like real food, natural foods, good for you, get outside, go outside and get out of here. Go do something. Turn that video game off. Anyways. Just a couple things before I go. Here's something from the New England Journal of Medicine telling, bringing science to debunk the science. New England Journal of Medicine, unvaccinated COVID patients are contagious for less time than those vaxxed or boosted. So New England Journal of Medicine telling you that you're probably better off unvaccinated. Nabone retweeted this. So Biden will be contagious longer. I'm not going to get into the whole thing because I just don't have time. I could. From Gonzalo Lira, I know I gave him a hard time the other day. Sorry, Gonzalo. I mostly like Gonzalo Lira's work too. I liked it. I had to bust his balls. Sorry about the climate change thing, but people are talking about how Joe Biden doesn't blink in this video. That's something of note. Yes, but listen to the voice. People have seen this going around. It doesn't even look like Joe Biden. Everything about this person, like the. Has anybody seen those memes that people make and they take somebody's face and they accentuate, one or more parts of their face, and so it looks a little like creepy and scary? Because they're like, it's freaky. I've seen a lot of those memes, and it's a freaky effect. And Joe Biden looks like somebody did that to his face here. Only he's actually moving and talking. This isn't like a still picture. And his voice is very low. So a lot of people are saying that there's more than, multiple Joe Bidens possibly. I don't know. Let's listen to this. I can't listen to it. Anyways, hold on. It's annoying. Why is this happening? It's really annoying to me because, hey man, because I should have sound. Can we have sound, please? Maybe not. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Glitchy AF. All right, so.
The D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes.
Okay, his voice is really low. His forehead is really big. His eyes are close together. Oh, somebody did this earlier today. I think it was Slow News Day, like compared this face to Joe Biden's other face. Anyways. Here.
Speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized. And lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former...
The other thing is that this person never blinks. Never blinks. So that is also really weird. Really, really weird. His eyes are very wide open, and he never blinks. Very, very weird.
Former President of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office. While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officer subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours.
Is this a Joe Biden robot? Anybody? His voice is very low for Joe Biden. Let's see if we can find him. I know I started a little late, so maybe let's see if we can find Joe Biden's speech with, will the real Joe Biden please stand up? Is this the real Joe Biden?
Good afternoon. Yesterday I spoke with both Senator Schumer.
So his voice is different in this one. Let's see if we can see this.
Mansion, and offered my support for a strike agreement to fight inflation.
His eyes are not wide open, stuck open like this. And he's actually closing his eyes. He not only blinks, he goes like this. So this is the real Joe Biden, I guess, maybe.
Lower costs for American families. It's called the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Some of you will see a lot of similarities between.
So y'all can see the very large difference in those two. Very large difference in those two instances of Joe Biden speaking. So, and people are like, what is very weird? Okay, you know what? I'm going to save this next one for tomorrow, I guess, because this can be another topic of conversation. I don't know. His voice was really low for Joe Biden. Just looking at, excuse me. Kevin Holzer says they use the new auto-tune and COVID plugin. Okay. Poppy says everyone gets depression. Some get suicidal for months and meds are awesome. Okay. I mean, that's what I'm saying is I don't know if maybe meds help some people. Maybe meds keep bipolar people from losing it. But I just think we need to be much more careful about how we prescribe them. Or who takes them, or how many people would prescribe them to. You know. Being bipolar is not the same as being depressed. You know, there's levels to it, right? Some people get depressed. Some people get really depressed and suicidal. You're right, Poppy Davis. However, there's a lot of evidence that these same drugs actually cause people to be suicidal. So there is that. So if you're causing the thing that you're supposed to be fixing with the thing, I mean that's an issue, right? Yeah, Vintage Violet, good comment. Poppy, I'm glad they worked for you. Can especially help with bipolar. I've had bad reactions with mind meds, so I stay away, but won't tell others not to try them if holistic stuff therapy doesn't work. I just hate them being handed out like candy. Docs who act as if emotions are abnormal. Right. Right. And that's basically what I was trying to say. And I think a lot of people would agree that would be a better way to deal with it. Judy Truitt says, oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I mean, I think, no, that's, Poppy Davis was saying, do you not believe in schizophrenia? No, I think some people are really schizophrenic and really have some very deep issues. It's just, you know, is that the knee-jerk answer to all of your problems is take this pill? I don't know. And some people have a hard time getting off of them. Some people take them and they're like, all right, I feel better. And then they try to get off them and they're like, ooh, that was rough. Scott Andrews says, at the grocery store, I'm noticing that the foods that are going up in price the most are highly processed foods. In the long run, that's probably good. I mean, Poppy says, I'm really glad y'all were able to get through depression. Some people have a physical brain disorder and drugs help immensely. Please don't discount that altogether. No, I'm not discounting that altogether. It's just sometimes the cure can lead to other ailments as well. My cure for depression was drugs and alcohol, and then I ended up being an alcoholic for 18 years and almost killing myself that way. So then there's that. But I can tell you that drugs and alcohol cured my depression. I just had to find something to cure my drugs and alcohol after a while. I was a lot less depressed when I was high. I can tell you that. Yeah. Yeah, that happens. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to go. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me every day on the Rockfin, the YouTube, and the call-in. I'll be back tomorrow, the regular time of 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Until next time, peace.